alfa, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota. Oh, hello there. Hello there, Wisconsin. It seems that you have caught me right in the middle of my Homeric Greek lesson. Kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi. Oh, see, if I'd have known you were coming, I would have gone and made some cookies. But that's okay, just come here, take a seat. We'll have a little fireside chat and read the Greek alphabet together. I'm just kidding. This is my broadcast. Of course I need to be here, silly. Welcome to the fourth broadcast of the Voice of Wisconsin Resistance. This is Thursday, February 23rd, 2011, day 9 of the protest against Governor Walker's war on organized labor. I'll be your host, Le Voix de la Résistance. First, we got a very exciting announcement here. Check this out. This is an oral history project put together by we, the people of Wisconsin. This is their YouTube channel. People come on here, they upload their stories, their testimonies of what's happening here in Madison, the protests. Head on over here, take a look at their submission guidelines, and get to it. Alright? Alright. You ever notice how the right has typically been quick to vilify FDR's New Deal? But now they're quoting his statement on why collective bargaining for public unions doesn't work and using that against the left? And last night, Walker did a fireside chat? Huh? I mean, okay, look. I'm not one to bring up Hitler on a whim because that's lame and everybody does it and it's disingenuous. But let's do it right now because it's funny. It's funny, alright? You cannot denounce Hitler's racism and then go and praise Nazi Germany's strict animal cruelty legislation as a model. Believe me, if Hitler had loved Jews and Russians the same way he loved puppies and kitties, the world would be a very different place today. Either a historical figure has credibility, or he doesn't. Good grief, Charlie Brown. Good grief. Seriously. Let's get to the unions, shall we? Let's talk about the unions. Some people are surprised that FDR wasn't a big fan of public organization of labor. He didn't find the system efficient. He said that public workers can't go on strike, and their collective bargaining is one-sided, as the negotiations are done with the state instead of, say, one dude who's manager. And the state, being the big, massive bureaucratic system that it is, with public administrators rotating in and out with the election cycles, has a hard time in those negotiations, and there's been a tendency for public unions to always get their way. And let's be realistic here. Unions are run by people, and like Alexander Hamilton said, if all men were angels, we'd have no need of government. There's definitely been, in the past, abusive practices by unions. Not all, don't misunderstand me, not all, but it's hardly unheard of. And even when, as has usually been the case, the unions have operated with integrity, there's still a trade-off when you move from unorganized to organized labor. Economic theory talks about this. There's social marginal benefit, externalities, Coase theorem, all that jazz. But in the interest of keeping it simple and approachable, let's put it this way. A unionized workforce is more expensive than a non-unionized workforce. Healthcare, pensions, negotiated salaries increase the cost of doing business, and that, by nature, reduces a company's economic output, and it can be an obstacle to efficiency. This also then has unintended consequences, or what we call negative externalities, unintended consequences for society as a whole, because companies turn to outsourcing their labor, and we lose jobs here. Alright, so given all that, why unionize, right? Why do it? Because the inequalities and abuses that plagued the workplace had to be addressed. We as a people decided, when we accepted organized labor, that we were willing to pay more as a society to improve the quality of life of the working class, and we essentially created the middle class out of thin air. There was not much of a middle class before this happened, before the organization of labor, before the, you could even call it, democratization of labor. So, starting around the 1960s and 70s, unions started to decline, particularly in the private sector. Today, I believe only about 7% of private employees are unionized. Feel free to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Nobody on either side of the aisle, Republican or Democrat, disputes that there has been a corresponding increase in the concentration of wealth, that an oligarchy has grown as unions have declined. Reagan used to rail on this all the time back in the day, man. Even while he was wiping out the Air Traffic Control Union in 1981, which if you don't know what I'm referring to, you should probably look it up, because a lot of dudes out there on the right side, they're saying that Governor Walker should do the same thing to us. Just fire everybody and wipe us out. All right. I'm worried that this is getting a bit technical, so I hope you're still with me on. Here's a trap that I don't want you to fall into. Just because there's a correlation between the decline of unions and the concentration of wealth, that does not necessarily mean that one causes the other. It might mean that. Don't get me wrong, it might mean that. But myself, I am not qualified to make that assertion. And there is a lot of debate in economic circles about this. So let's move on. Why the history lesson? Why am I giving you a history lesson? Because everything I just mentioned forms the ideological basis for the attack being made against unions right now. This is really important stuff, all right? And it kind of speaks to who we are as a people, because there's pure capitalism, which is kind of what we had going on in the 19th and early 20th centuries. And then there's the attempt to inject humanitarianism into capitalism and socialize it. Oh, there's a scary word. Socialism. God, we're so scared of that word. Oh, man. Look, let's pretend it doesn't exist. Okay? Never heard of it. Let's move on. The labor movement that created the middle class, Roosevelt's New Deal that created Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid that LBJ instituted with the Great Society. These are all attempts to humanize capitalism, to lessen the human cost of capitalism, because there are certain things, certain goods and services that the private sector is not willing to provide. But don't demonize them for that. There's good economic reasons for that. They're just a bit beyond the scope of this broadcast, so we will move on. Okay, so where are we at so far? We've established that unions, by nature, are obstacles for a market trying to achieve its optimal economic output. But we accepted that. We accepted the increased cost of organized labor because we decided that it would benefit society. And it did. The growth of the middle class in the 20th century, without a doubt, improved our quality of life. And its decline has started to lessen it. Now, is that because of the decline in unions? There's certainly a correlation, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that means causation. You know, that's a question that's being debated. That's a heated question. And see, Republicans today will always argue that unions right now are an unnecessary obstacle to the free market. They say that unions serve their purpose years and years ago, but now federal and state labor laws have filled the cracks that unions used to fill. So they've declared war on the unions. They want them gone. They say we don't need them anymore. They are hurting us unnecessarily. They're hurting our economy without any good reason. The middle and working class don't accept this. They don't believe that those laws are enough to protect them from exploitation. They don't believe that they don't need their unions anymore. And really, what freaking crybabies, man, because what possible reason could they have not to trust them? This is the 4th broadcast of the Voice of Wisconsin Resistance. Live on the Capitol Square. I'm off to the gym. Solidarity.